Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I'll walk you through how to install and use Gemini CLI, Google's command line tool for interacting with Gemini models. I'll also show you how to integrate it inside Visual Studio Code so you can run AI commands without leaving your editor. So what exactly is Gemini CLI? It's a lightweight command line tool that lets you access Google Gemini models right from your terminal. You can use it for text generation, summarization, code explanation, and even sending files for AI assisted insights. Think of it as your AI assistant in the terminal. Let's start with the installation process. As you can see in the official documentation of Gemini CLI, you would need Node.js version 20 or higher. There are three ways to get it installed. I'm using Windows OS, so I'm going to use the second way, which is npm install-g and choose the Google Gemini CLI. For this, I'll open a command line prompt and here I'm going to install it. I already have it installed on my machine, so I will open it for you. I'll type Gemini and press enter. We'll hold on for a second where it is going to show us all the other options. So it is loading the cached credentials. And this is the interface which will come on your screen once Gemini is running. There are three ways to get authenticated with Google Gemini. One is your own Google account. The second one is you can get the Gemini API key from the Google AI Studio. And the third one is to use the Vertex AI. Choosing any of them would give a similar experience. Now you can choose Gemini auth login command also for you to get that option available on your machine. Let me get started with the help module. This is going to give us all the options which Gemini supports. As you can see, there are multiple options. For this video, I'm going to cover only a few which would be important for any beginner. Let's start with the -m model. When you provide this option, you can define which model of Google Gemini you would want to use as your default over here. You may choose Gemini Flash, you may choose Gemini Pro, and based on your requirement, it will come into picture. Just keep in mind that when you are using Gemini Pro, it may very well burn up your tokens and later you may have to use Gemini Flash also. I'll go to the next prompt method over here. You can provide the prompt directly from the command line as you would have talked to a regular chatbot. I'll go to the next one, which is called the sandbox image. This is one of the most interesting ones because here you can use Docker image in which your Gemini CLI can run into. There are multiple other ones like telemetry, changing how the telemetry is done and all, but I will skip them and I'll directly go to the allowed MCP server names. This is required for us to have a security enabled structure enabled in our flow. The reason why I'm saying that is there are multiple MCP servers available in the market which may or may not be secure. Using this option, you can always tell Gemini that you have to use only the official MCP servers which are available in the market registries. Please do remember to check this option out, otherwise there's a huge possibility of us running into security issues. This one is for the listing of the extensions which we'll cover in another video. -v can be used for getting the version of Gemini CLI. And -h is anyhow the same thing which we're using right now. Now I will go into Gemini again and show you the operators which are available. There are primarily three operators which can be used sparingly for different use cases. Let it come up. Okay, I'll start with the slash operator. When you give this slash operator, you will get a list of commands which you can execute. So the first one is about, the second one is change the authentication method, the bug report and everything. Okay, and here you can also list the extensions. It's very similar to the help method, but it is very much verbose in nature. One of the most important one here is either clear, which can clear the screen and you can start the conversation history again. The other one is the memory one. The memory one helps us to change the memory configurations while you are using Gemini. The other one, MCP, is also very important. Like I told earlier, here we can list the configured MCPs which we have for Gemini CLI. One of the most advised way to use Gemini is to use this init method. If you use this init method, a default Gemini.markdown file is created. I'm going to cover it in more detail in a minute. I'll now go to the other operator, which is called the at operator. Providing the at operator helps Gemini to find out the files which you would want it to work upon. So here in my project, we are having three folders. One is called front end, the other one is called the back end. So if you put an at the rate sign over here, you can very well ask Gemini to focus on that folder or that particular file. I'll now go to the last one, which is the exclamation mark. There are multiple times where you would not want to leave Gemini and would want to execute the shell command directly within Gemini. So using this exclamation mark, you can very well use the shell commands within the Gemini and then get out of it again by pressing the same exclamation mark. And this is how you can use all these operators. The other important part in Gemini is the settings. I'll cover them now in more details. So one of the places where you can find your settings is within your user profile. If you have installed it on the global mode, within your user profile under the .gemini folder. You can find all the settings files over here. You will have the credentials, settings and Google accounts over here. The most important setting which I want to emphasize over here is the Gemini Markdown file. This is kind of a memory bank for Gemini. Here, you will define the guardrails and other instructions which you want Gemini to take every time you give it a task. Defining it over here helps us in future and it helps Gemini also to find out the correct way of moving forward. For example, you can define that you always have to use TypeScript code. You may even want to specify the indentation and other stuffs. So you can use this as a reference for your Gemini Markdown file in your project. Now let's get into the coolest part of the video, where I'm going to use Gemini CLI within VS Code. I'll open my VS Code window over here and I'll open a terminal. Now within that terminal, I will again type Gemini and give enter. It will again pick up all the credentials and come up over here. Using it inside the Visual Studio terminal gives it the context for the project on which you are working on. Now, if you can see, it has come up within the terminal within VS Code Studio. Now, you can use it for all your purposes. For example, this code of mine, I'm using Spring Boot as my backend. Let me ask it what version of Spring Boot is being used in this project. So I'll ask what is the version of Spring Boot in this project. So it's directly going into the POM file and see it has found out that the version for Spring Boot here is 3.2.0. Now the front end for this one is React. Let me see if I can find the React version over here. What is the version of React JS in this project? It is again trying to find it from the package.json and see it has successfully found out that the version is 18.2.0. Now I would want to know what a particular class is doing over here. So let me choose this one. What is the purpose of the class? Let's see. It's inspecting it, and now it is going to find out what is the purpose of the class interpolation response. Now it is going for verifying the implementation. Now it is saying this class is a data transfer object used to send the results of a file interpolation operation back to the client. So it gives all the information related to the class. This way you can find out whatever you have in the project, and you can also ask it to refactor the code itself. You can use it for any other purposes also, like for example you want to change the UI. You don't have to directly go into the code and change the UI. You can very well ask it. Just do remember to keep committing your change in any source code tool, be it Git or any other, so that any change which is made by Gemini is always tracked in that source code tool. And that's how you install Gemini CLI and how you integrate it into VS Code. If you found this video helpful, hit the like button, subscribe for more AI assisted coding tutorial, and let me know in the comments if you want me to build projects live using Gemini CLI. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.